creator, Apex Accelerator, formerly the PTAC. That's a lot of formalities, we won't go into all that, but the Apex Accelerator was founded in 1986 by the Senate to help businesses maneuver the maze of government contracting. So how many of you have tried government contracting on your own? It's not easy, is it? We're here to help you maneuver that maze just a little bit. We were talking at the business roundtable. I thought SWAM would be a good subject. Not a whole lot of people understand what SWAM is. So here's our homepage. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Our homepage, feedback link there also. If you approve of the Apex or you don't like anything I do or say, please give the Department of Defense feedback on us.
And we'll send you guys these slides also.
Yes, yes. The agenda today is who's eligible, what do you need, and how do you apply? So we're going to focus on SWAM alone. I'm going to touch base a little bit on EVA. How many of you are familiar with EVA? Okay, so y'all are registered in EVA? Okay. How many of you are SWAM certified? Awesome. Awesome. All right. So, SWAM certification. State agencies have an aspirational goal for 42% of discretionary funds to be spent with SWAM certified vendors. 42%. How many of you know how much the state of Virginia spends in dollar? Come on, give me an estimate.
6
Billions. Billions. Billions of dollars. 42% for a SWAM certified vendor. All you need is a little tiny piece of that pie. That's all you need. The SWAM certification registration is free. Don't pay for it. Don't pay for it. If you have trouble maneuvering it, there are companies out there that will charge you to help you. Don't pay for it. Come see me. I can help you through it. It's an online application. We're going to go over the documentation today, and we're going to go through the application process too. I am not a slide reader. Like John said, you will get these slides so you can read them at your leisure. There is a 1% transaction fee capped at $500 per order for SWAM certified vendor suppliers in EVA. In EVA, there is a fee if you win an award there. If you're a SWAM certified vendor, it's capped. Let's see, SWAM micro, again, I'm not a slide reader. There is a 5% pricing differential. So, if I'm into fitness, you're into fitness, we both bid on the same project, you're SWAM certified, I'm not, you can be up to 5% higher and they have the option to choose you. Large businesses are required to subcontract with SWAM certified vendors. There is a cap there, there's a lot of technical stuff in there, but they are required. One of the things that we teach you is how to search in EVA for awards for those large companies that need subcontractors. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about that today, but there is ways you can maneuver around that. So the qualifications, you must be 51% owned and controlled by one or more individuals who are U.S. citizens or legal resident aliens, okay? It's got to be 51%. With affiliates, 250 or fewer employees. If you own 10% of another company, that's considered an affiliate, and you have to disclose that in your application. There's a spot in the application for you to disclose it. Your average annual gross receipts, 10 million or less, average over the previous 3 years. How many of you how many of you just reading those few items qualify for small? Every hand in here. So you do qualify for small. All right, and the 51% must control day-to-day operations and the operations.
I think one of the things that I would point out is I struggled with that at first because my husband and I are 50-50. And so we had to show that we were married, and because they do accept you if you are 50-50. You just have to provide that you are married, that you live together and stuff like that. So.
Right. For the small, yes.
Yeah.
Micro. This was established in 2014. Less than 25 employees and less than $3 million in revenues averaged over 3 years. How many of you qualify for micro in here? All right. If you're already SWAM certified, which doesn't apply here, but if you miss checking that box when you apply, all you've got to do is go back in and amend your application, and they'll add micro. Set aside opportunities. I love telling people about this. Micro, anything under $10,000 does not have to go out for public bid. They can pick up the phone and say, Bert, I got an $8,000 job here, can you do it? And what are you gonna say?
Sure.
Where do you need to win? Where do you need to win? But the key to that is they have to know you. They have to know you in order to pick up the phone and call.
Can I add to that? So I ran a state agency, and that undoubtedly exists. And for those less than 10,000 contracts that they are employees, if they knew somebody needed to execute that contract, and it was instantaneous. It was, hey, we need this, boom, done over. So that relationship piece is alive and well among the state
It
agencies.
is huge. It's huge. So there are two presentations today. There's something in EVA called the 702 report. I need y'all to write that down. If we don't get to it today, pick up the phone, call me. I can send the instructions to John to show you how to run it. It is a free marketing pipeline coming straight out of EVA for awards. Yes, sir.
Yeah, one's a question, one's a comment. I'll do the comment first. If we don't get to 702, or if there are topics from today that people want to dive deeper on, we can pick it up at the roundtable and keep going with it, okay? Because what we want to do is make sure we bottom out the information so you've got it and you know how to apply it, okay? So knowing's not enough, being able to act on it is what matters, okay? The question is, so you get the call, and it's 10,000 or less, and hey, we're ready to rock and roll. Do you still have to go through like a contract negotiation process, or because you're already in the system, everything's terms and everything's already established? Just go do it.
Just go do it. Just go do it.
We've gotten where they've submitted the order through EVA.
There you go. Okay, so even more of a reason to.
And-
Right.
And you get an email to let you know that you've gotten an order.
Mhm.
And you make it right to
Because if you think about it as a small business owner, if you've got two opportunities, and one you're having to pull in your attorney and negotiate a contract and all that kind of stuff, versus you can get an order and start tomorrow, kind of a right?
Easy
Well,
choice
no
there.
brainer, right?
Easy choice.
Yeah.
But forming that relationship's important. Forming that relationship with that buyer. You're not going to go buy widgets from somebody that just started yesterday. You're going to go buy widgets from John, who's been manufacturing widgets for 20 years, has got an exceptional deal on them and a money-back guarantee. You're not going to come buy them from me, who just started yesterday. The trust factor is huge. So the micro business, the micro certification is the most valuable certification, in my opinion, that you can grab onto, and then working that certification. It's not just getting it. You have to work that certification. You have to work on it. So for the small professional services, anything under 80,000 are set aside for SWAM vendors. So that means they're going to put something out, $70,000 opportunity. They're looking for SWAM certified vendors. Their preferred choice is a SWAM certified vendor. Non-professional services, anything less than 100,000 are to be set aside for SWAM certified companies. So that covers everything y'all do in here. Yes, ma'am.
What's the difference between professional service and a non-professional service? Can you give an example?
Professional services is going to be like bookkeepers, things like that. Non-professional construction. There's also something that a lot of people don't know about, disadvantaged business enterprise, DBE certification. How many people know about that? We're not going to touch base a whole lot on this because it's a whole presentation in itself. It has to do with transportation. And when you think of transportation, don't be like me. I thought transportation, paving, line striping, things like that. Think outside the box. You're talking bus stations, you're talking about rest areas on the interstate. They need concessions, they need lawn maintenance, they need janitorial services. Think outside the box with this. This is both a federal and a state. This gets you into VDOT and USDOT. It is a much more intensive application. There is another center called the Bowd Center out of Sandston that is another whole organization like the Apex Accelerators that help with DBEs. So if you're interested in that, please get with somebody, ask that question, and I'll get you the information, okay? DBE certification, like I said, we're not gonna go into that right now. SWAM service disabled veteran-owned business. How many veterans do we have in the room? Number one, thank you for your service. If you are service disabled through the Veteran Service Administration, then that paperwork will get you your SDVOSB here in the state of Virginia. The state of Virginia only recognizes SDVOSB. The federal side, there is a veteran-owned and a service disabled veteran-owned certification, but for the state, it's only service disabled.
What if it's like her case where it says 51%, but it's, my husband's disabled, but he's my partner, but we're 50/50. Does he still qualify?
No, the veteran has got to be 51% owner and in control of the business and operate daily operations. With the exception, if they're service disabled to where they are not able to do that and have a caretaker that does that, there is an exception to that rule.
And I wanted to say, you can get that fixed though. I mean, well, if he's, so like when we set up the roofing company, me and Mike were 50/50. And I went back and changed it because we knew that we may get into this someday. That's why we made it veteran-owned 51%, 49%, because we discussed this, but you can go back and change that, just go back and change your report and stuff. But it depends on if the veteran is the one who's doing the majority of the work in the business. Like what it is.
Day-to-day operations, and yeah. So I had a HVAC company come to me and ask me, it was owned by 2 women and 1 man. The women held the majority. They were veterans, but the women held the majority. They had pictures of the women going out, installing HVAC units, installing the ductwork, doing the work. They had testimonials from the employees saying that if somebody showed up sick, woman A, woman B were right there in the trenches with them. They applied for women-owned small business certification and were denied. The man held the license. The man held the license, and if he were to walk away from the business shut down. So it's important to look at all those angles, all the angles when you talk about 51% ownership. Service disabled veteran owned, you have to be, like I said, you have to be certified through DBS for that. Once you get that certification, you can automatically upload that documentation into your SWAM certification and it's added to it. Yes, sir, I can see that question coming.
Okay, so most small businesses are LLCs or some type of limited liability company, right? However, at some point, because there might be multiple partners, it would make sense to incorporate. When that happens, the license will be held by the corporation. But if you look at the cap table, it's going to show who owns what shares and things like that. So if it's an incorporated business and the corporation holds a license, is that going to be problematic for the certification?
No, because you're gonna supply the documentation showing who's got what percentage.
Okay.
Who's got what percentage.
It is a little bit more complicated, but you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
That's exactly how we are. We're an S corp, and my husband and I own 50% equally, and we're both directors. Our stock shares are 50%, so you have to provide all that documentation.
Right.
But it's a way to get around those kind of situations
Right.
like you just described.
Right. And they're on to, I've seen this happen several times, they're on to the husband and wife team, the husband running the business on a day-to-day basis, and then saying, oh, well, let's get women owned, and changing everything to show the woman is the ownership. They want documented
Yeah.
proof. The woman, what did she contribute to start up the business? What does she do to run the day-to-day operations? So you can't just pick up and say, okay, let me add my wife and make it women owned. They're onto that. And I mean, that's what people did for years.
Right.
That's what people did for years. So this is something new that we noticed not too long ago. So when I look somebody up, the first place I look is EVA. And I look to see, are you SWAM certified? And I started noticing that if you have federal certifications, the 8A, the economically disadvantaged women-owned small business, or the women-owned small business, or service disabled vet as a federal certification, it's showing up in your EVA now also. All you gotta do is, if you've already been certified by the SBA, supply that paperwork and they'll add it. Okay, so let's talk about documents. I'm gonna go through this list fairly quick. Proof of U.S. citizen, you need your driver's license and your passport or birth certificate. Everybody's got one of those, right? If you use a passport, make sure it's not expiring in 30 days. Go ahead and get it renewed and have it up to date. With these documents, you want to scan them in, save them on your computer as what it is. Driver's license, DL, birth certificate, BC. Scan it in as separate documents because you're gonna have to upload it separately, okay? All right, a complete copy of your federal business tax returns for the most recent year. They want everything. Yes, sir.
What if you just started?
I was gonna get to that. First, and then it's depending on what type of corporation or what type of setup you've got is, a lot of times it's the first page of the previous 2 years, or the following 2 years, or the first page and the first page of Schedule C, depending on how you file. If you just started, you're gonna type up a statement on your company letterhead stating, my business just started March 1st of 2024. I had not filed taxes yet. And you will take that statement, save it as your tax statement, and then upload it in all 3 spots. Okay? First page of the 941. How many of you have employees that you pay on a weekly basis? All right, so y'all know what 941s are, right? A lot of people don't have employees, don't pay employees, don't pay 941s. They get hung up on the application because you put on the first page of the application, it asks for a number of employees. A lot of people just put 1 because they consider the owner as an employee. Then they get hung up on the 941s. You don't have 941s as an owner most of the time. So on the application, you want to put 0 as employees if you're not paying somebody on a weekly basis, and this requirement goes away. They won't ask for the 941s. Documented proof of contributions. What did you use to start your business? What did you put out to start your business? Did you buy a computer? The first thing you're going to list on this proof of contributions is your Virginia State Corporation Commission paperwork. That fee, that receipt, that's going to be the first thing. Did you have to buy a business license? Do you have licensing? Did you buy a computer? Did you buy a cell phone? Did you buy a domain? Anything you use to start your business, list out on this. It shows your contributions towards the business. Again, if you want to do 51% woman-owned or 51% veteran-owned, you've got to split those out. Show the women contributions. Show that. Show the breakout. Show that if you're going for women-owned, show that your wife contributed also. Show that she put funds into the business also. It helps with the validation factor. Did you have a question?
No, it's just a technical thing because, from a financial planning point of view, we recommend joint accounts and
Joint
things like
accounts,
that.
everything like that.
I understand the accounting and reconciliation piece of it, but, do they really get into the fact of?
So I just recently had this happen with a client of mine. He came in and he said, I want to add women-owned to my SWAMMED certifications. And I questioned him and I was unsure about it. I didn't feel like it was the proper move, but we did it. And they came back and asked, what are her contributions? What does she do? So that's why I say, if you can split them out, split them out. So, but that was a man that has had a business for 15 years.
So I'm thinking about, what about a lady that's applying and she and her spouse, all of their accounts are joint? And it's a husband and wife owned business, how do you differentiate?
What we ended up doing, and I know we're 50-50, but we talked about having 51%, or actually giving some to like my daughter and then my husband and I, so that the two women would
Women
have
are in
the
control,
ownership.
yes.
but we had to prove what was she doing, right?
Mhm.
But they make you submit a job description, we had to submit an organizational chart, because we did have all those, everything else was joint financially. So, I mean, our tax returns, everything
Right.
is joint, and, and I mean, we've been married for 37 years, so it wasn't a problem for us, but it did create some challenges. It just, you had to make sure you documented it, and so job descriptions, all that kind of stuff, we had to literally, it was quite a bit that we had to prove exactly what he was doing and exactly what I was doing in terms, and even though his work was more field related, doing all of the office and administration and all of that is, being the CFO and all of that of the business is just as much of an important role as the person who's the CEO.
Correct.
So that, and I would say that they gave fair, attention to the differences in the role.
They do, and they'll ask.
Yeah.
They'll ask. If it's unclear, they're gonna ask. She's had her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. As far as like the business license, computer, and all the different things that purchase, cause that's something that I actually got stuck on. Would I just put it on letterhead and actually just list out these things and provide receipts?
I tell you to scan all the receipts in and list it out on an Excel sheet, and then just total it up there.
And then what if some stuff I don't have receipts for? Like, because when I first started out, like just training as a voiceover artist, I was still working as a social worker. So I was buying,
Mhm.
all the equipment, but didn't look at it as a business, So some of that stuff I might not even.
So they're not looking for exactness in this, they're looking to show that you've contributed to the business, you've contributed to the startup. You're not just coming in and buying my widget business and taking over. You know, they're showing your contribution and your input into the business.
So,
Hold on, just, yes, ma'am?
I have a question about the paying the employees weekly. So my tutors are 1099, they're contractors. So will I still put 0?
Yes, you
Okay.
will, because a 1099 contractor is not actually an employee.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am?
on the contribution piece of it, I think we were able to use like some personal property report documentation, tax reports, where we had been paying taxes on things that were used in the business to
Mhm.
show, and then that property tax is in your name, so you're paying the taxes on that. I think they were able to use, because we had been in business for a long time too, and having to show all that.
Well, with that being said, if you've been in business 5 years or old, or 5 years or
Yeah.
more, you can just type up a statement saying, I don't have access to the startup contributions,
Mhm.
and submit that as proof of
Yeah.
contributions.
There was a lot that we had to, there was a lot of the back and
Mhm.
forth, just to make sure they could validate it.
Right.
And so any legitimate business expense that would be otherwise written off as,
Your proof of contributions.
yes, it's proof.
This is what I've used to start a
Yes,
business.
you're bootstrapping.
This
money.
this is what I've invested into my
Yes.
business.
Okay.
Your resume. Update your resume. Update your resume. They're gonna kick it back if your business name is not the most recent listing on there. Update it. I get them all the time. They kick back my resume, Lynn. What do they want? Put your business on there. Any copies of professional licenses, permits, anything you've got to run. If you're an occupational therapist, are you required to have a license?
Yes, ma'am.
Submit that. Business license. This is the number one question I get asked. Am I required to have a business license? If you're doing business, yes. If you're doing business, yes, you must have a business license. And if you go to the business license office and they tell you you don't need one, then you need to get that in writing, because they're going to ask for it.
Should I add my teaching license?
Yes, any kind of licenses, any kind of permits that you've gotta have. The number one thing they're looking for is your business license. So like I said, if the business license office tells you you don't have to have one, get it in writing. Get it signed and dated by who you talk to at that business license office, because it's gonna kick back your application if you don't have it. The additional documentation for corporations, LLCs, sole proprietorships. We don't have to go through all of these. Most of these documents you're going to have from your company startup. Corporations, 9 times out of 10, you didn't set it up yourself. You had somebody set it up. Keep that paperwork set up safe. Your LLCs. If you didn't keep your articles of incorporation or your certificate of organization, go to the Virginia State Corporation Commission. Number 1, make sure you're active there. When you go log in, make sure you're active, and you can request them from there. And it's free. I can pull them for you.
I'm sorry, I just wanna make sure I ask all the questions while
Yes,
we're
ma'am.
live. So I started in 2018, and we started out as an LLC, and then I think in 2021 or 2, we changed to S Corp, but I've changed back to LLC. Should I just list the most current LLC or give them everything I have?
You can, I would list it as LLC, and if
Okay.
they ask, just be able to explain why you went, or, explain the change.
Okay. There was grant money available at that time, so we were booming. And the tax lady said we need to move to S Corp to make all the money.
Right, you're just gonna supply that explanation, if they
Okay.
ask. A lot of
Okay.
times they don't even ask. Yes, ma'am.
You just said something about 2018 and everything. So I started like training and getting the equipment that I needed to be a voiceover artist in 2018. But through the SSC,
Virginia Secretary of State,
through that, I actually said that I didn't start my business until 2022, 2023. Do I need to change that? Should I go back and change it? 'Cause and the reason that I did that is because I was actually just training and still working as a social worker. I didn't do my job as a social worker until 2021.
Mhm.
So I was pouring into the business and doing things as a voiceover artist, but
Where are you asking to change it at?
through the SEC.
SEC?
Yes.
You can, but I mean, you're set up and you're going now, you fully started your business then, right?
Yeah.
I would tend to leave it.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's see. Additional required documents, you see sole proprietorship right there, current business license. They're serious about that current business license. They're serious about it. Franchise information, partnership information. Proof of
Could you go back one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, alright. So I was thinking about partnerships,
Uh-huh.
because so many partnerships we find are handshake agreements
Mhm.
and nothing's documented.
Good point, good point.
And so that's all the more reason why you want to, at a minimum, have something like your, buy-sell agreement or
Mhm.
your articles of whatever type business you are, so it describes the purpose of the business, the structure of the business, and things like that.
I hear more about partnerships, if my partner absconded with my portion of the business.
Yeah.
Or, father, son. Yeah, I had a father come in, and this was federal, and he gave his son his admin on his SAM.gov account. And he wanted it back because him and his son were arguing. So the partnership agreement, something in writing, even if it is your best friend. I have a best friend I've known for 30 years. If I go into business with her, we're gonna have it in writing. I can promise you, because both of us are just as stubborn and hard-headed as we could be. And I can't imagine, arguing over a business agreement. So have that partnership agreement, teaming agreement, whatever you get together with.
And I'm gonna be a little picky here. Don't go to a real estate attorney to get that drawn up.
Exactly.
Don't go to the person who takes care of your traffic tickets and things like that. Go to a business attorney who that's all they do, because they're going to cite Virginia code that others won't, and it's probably about the same cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so just save yourself the time and trouble, and you won't hurt the feelings of your family attorney or whatever, because they'll respect the fact that you need to go to a business attorney
That's
to get it
exactly-
done. Because otherwise they're doing you a favor.
That's right. EIN letter. How many of you have an EIN letter for your business? Okay, so there's nobody operating under your social security number. That's good. That's good. Keep this EIN letter in a plastic sleeve in an important book somewhere. Keep it handy, because you're gonna have to have it. Another thing this is my soapbox, because when you move into the federal field, that EIN letter you have to have. That address on that, the business name and that address on the EIN letter must match what you have in the Virginia Secretary of State. You must keep you must keep all of these up to date with your most recent address, business name, any changes like that. So keep that together. You don't want to be, Lynn's widgets on the EIN letter and Lynn's auto in EVA and something else everywhere else. You got to be consistent, be the same. Business name, if you have a DBA, make sure you follow the proper procedure to get that done and get it registered in the Virginia Secretary of State. All right, so any questions on any of the documentation?
My employee in Colorado, I'll still be okay with working in another or having affiliations with another state.
Say that again?
I have tutors in Colorado, so I would still be okay filing in Virginia for like majority of my business is in the state.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I just want to make sure that's clarified.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, here's the application page. I apologize for some of these application pictures. I had to take them off a YouTube video. If you want to, there's a YouTube video done by Bernice Love with the SBSD, who is very thorough. This is where I got these pictures from. If you want that link, please reach out to John or Bert, and I'll get the link to you. Or you can Google YouTube. Now these are not going to show up very well. Use your correct email. Use your correct email. Be careful with this. Write it down. You're going to create a login and a username. Write it down and save. Your password, one uppercase, one lowercase, one number, minimum 6 characters long. I'm going to get up on one of my soapboxes here. Do you know it takes a hacker less than 15 minutes to hack a password, 8 characters or less? Just saying. So if you're using password 12349999, stop today. Change it. Change it. Less than 30 minutes to hack an 8-character or less password. It's going to ask you for the multi-factor authentication. Go ahead and set that up because it's going to keep bothering you every time you log in until you set it up. Just go and set it up. Once you're logged in, you're going to see this screen right here. What does my time look like? Is somebody watching the time?
8:40.
Okay. I can talk forever, y'all. I can talk forever. So you're going to see this screen when you log in. You're going to click on that link new application. See the light blue box there in the middle? I know it's hard to see. It's going to ask for your federal EIN number. So go ahead and key that in. And it's going to say application with a specified federal EIN does not exist. Do you want to start a new application? This message is okay. You wouldn't believe the number of people I get send me a screenshot and say, what do I do? Yes, you want to start a new application. Start a new application. So then here's your certifications. It's going to go through and ask you what certifications you want. Now we've talked about SWAM, we've talked about small, we've talked about women-owned being 51% owner, we didn't talk about minority, and we talked about micro. Check the ones that you are eligible for.
So when I was at the event in Chesterfield, I talked to Randy, and I was telling him that the woman-owned, minority-owned, that it kept kicking me back, asking me for the approval letter, and I was like, well, I'm trying to get approved, but that's what I'm trying to do. And he told me to uncheck those boxes.
So were you checking the WOSB?
Yes.
I'd have to, okay, so the women-owned, so there's federal certifications on here also. So I'm thinking that you had a federal box checked. So the top, I think it's the top 4 or 5, small, micro, women-owned, minority-owned, the disabled veteran. So the top 5 are the state certifications. If you check anything below that, that's the federal certification, and they're asking for your SBA letter.
Okay, so just.
Have you gotten past this yet?
Yeah, I've actually completed
Okay.
my application. I got a letter back just saying that they needed some documentation and needed me to clarify some things. So yeah, I've definitely gotten past it. But when I told him where, I showed him a copy of the email. I sent a copy of the email that I actually received from the
SBSD.
Yes. I got to learn all of these acronyms, but yeah. And that's what he told me to do. He said, "Oh, just go back in and uncheck those boxes." And I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, so pay attention because some of those are federal.
So the
Some
top
of the,
five,
right.
the top three or the top five?
Top five, small,
Top five are
micro, women-owned, minority-owned, and disabled veteran. Now, the disabled veteran, this is where you're going to, have to submit your DBS paperwork.
Right, yeah, and I did, I put that.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
And then the ones underneath that, so just be careful what you check. Good point, I didn't know that was an issue there. Federal certifications, you must supply your SBA paperwork to have them added. It lists the federals here. So, and I don't think, in looking back, I don't think they're separated. So, I mean, I'll mention that to Randy and tell him they need to separate those out.
Yeah, that's what
So-
I was getting, a lot of people who are like, it's really confusing.
Yeah, I'll mention that. The small business supplier diversity does not do 8A, federal women-owned, SDV, OSB, BOSB. They don't do that. So when they're asking, when you check those boxes, they're asking for your SBA paperwork. Then they're asking you to describe your business: LLC, corporation, sole proprietorship, partnership, LLP, joint ventures, and there's a couple different screens on here, and I'm sorry for the blurriness. So your legal business name, make sure that matches what you got in Virginia State Corporation Commission and on your EIN letter, okay? Make sure that matches. Your federal EIN number is already listed there. You are in the United States. On your address, when you type in your address, it's gonna come up with a pop-up menu, sort of like Google does. You need to make sure you click on the correct one and then click the blue verify button. Click the blue verify button, because if you don't, and you just put it in there and move on, it's gonna tell you your application's not been completed, and then you're gonna spend 20 minutes thinking, what have I not done? If that blue verify button's there, you need to click it, make it go away, because once it verifies it, the blue verify button's gonna go away, okay? Mailing address, same as physical address, so you can check that box or not. The question is, your business registered in EVA. That is not required. It is highly recommended. You don't wanna leave that money on the table. There's a lot of state agency money out there, and you don't wanna leave it laying on the table. Are you registered with the Virginia State Corporation Commission? Yes. You say no, it's gonna stop you right there. You need to be registered. Your business needs to be registered there. It asks if your business is a franchise, your contact information. It's gonna ask you your name, your title, your percentage of business ownership. Would you like to receive marketing emails from SBSD? That's either yes or no. I highly recommend you say yes, because the SBSD offers classes all the time on more than just SWAM. They offer accounting classes. They offer classes you wouldn't believe, that you wouldn't even fathom that you would need, and they're free. If it's free, take it. Take it. They ask you what year your business was established. Make sure the year you put here matches the year that you have in the Virginia State Corporation Commission. Your annual gross receipts for the past 3 years. This is where, if you just started, you're gonna put 0, tax year 2024, 0, tax year 2023, 0, 22. And then when you get to the next page, you're gonna upload that tax statement. See, principal owners. Again, it's going to ask your personal information. It's going to ask, I didn't take a picture of that. It's gonna ask for your address, and that blue verify button's gonna pop up again. Verify your address, make that blue button go away. Corporation details, common shares. So this is gonna be where, if you've got a partnership with your husband and you're 50-50, he's got 50 shares, you got 50 shares, you're gonna split it out here. You're gonna explain it to him. Common shares authorized, there's more. Let's see, corporation directors. So if you have directors in your corporation, you need to list this out.
And that should all be on your SEC filing.
SEC filing or your paperwork.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
your
yeah.
paperwork. So, and that's gotta match.
Yes.
That's gotta match with everything you got. Daily operations. NIGP commodity codes. How many of you know what this is? I used to know what NIGP stands for. I don't remember anymore.
It's kind kind of like you have your, EP, what is it? It's a classification category
Mhm.
that the government uses when they're doing.
When they're trying to find,
statistics and
yeah,
stuff, and
when
then
they're trying to find something. Stay in your lane. I've got clients, when I pull up their EVA, it's like a fan. I'm scrolling through hundreds of NIGP codes. Do what you do best. What's your niche? If you're a janitorial company, list janitorial, leave it at janitorial. Don't put consulting in there too. You know, a buyer is looking for consistency. They're gonna look at your EVA profile, they're gonna look and see, okay, janitorial, and they're gonna look and see your past performance all janitorial. You don't wanna mix that up. So, fun facts, government contracting is boring. I always try to liven things up a little bit. One of the top questions we get asked is, does the government buy what I sell? So, in my short 4 years as a PTACer, Apexer, I have found wine, tobacco, massage therapy. We had a massage therapist walk into our office about 3 years ago, and I sort of thought, I don't know. I looked at my team member and I said, I don't know about this. She said, I don't either. Well, don't tell her no. Come on, let's help her. Let's get her registered. There's a code for it. She had a $35,000 contract 3 months later. And the best one, and I know we're talking about state, but the best one, the federal NAICS code has a nudist camp code. Proof of it's right there, you can look it up. I've never done any research, but yeah, the government buys everything. The government buys everything. So, that was my fun fact for the day. Skywriting, I've seen skywriting in the state. I've seen a solicitation for skywriting. It was one of the first ones I ever saw. But I've never seen one for a nudist camp, but if so, I'll include it in my presentations from here on out. But, all right, so fun fact, you're gonna pick your NIGP codes. I can teach you how to go through EVA and look at other vendors, look at your co-opetition in there to see what NIGP codes they're using and what they're winning under. Don't stick by code alone. Always search by keyword. Buyers are human too. You got a new buyer coming in, you got their boss shouting at them, they got 150 RFQs on their desk to do, and the boss is steady shouting, they may code it under the wrong thing. So always search by codes and keywords, and do that faithfully. Back to the application. You're going to pick your geographic marketing area. Where are you going to do business at? Statewide Virginia, they list out the different pieces of Virginia. Does your business accept charge cards? Why is this important?
Because that's all they pay by.
And that under $10,000, that $5,000 one, that's going to be a credit card. So do your research. I don't know enough about credit cards to be able to recommend anything, but do your research.
Tom Childry, who is a SOBA member, he's the expert on all that stuff.
There you go. You got a credit card expert right there.
They do allow you to also add in a processing fee that is above and beyond the $10,000. So that if the price is like, let's say you price it at $9.95, $9.95, and then you can add a processing fee for the credit card charge, and they allow you, if it goes over $10,000, you don't have to resubmit, or it doesn't.
Well, that's good to know. I did not know that. I did not know that. But yes, you need to check yes on that box, and then you need to give Tom Children to figure out which credit card's going to be the best for your business.
And I always factor in the fee for not just for credit card, but also for what EBA charges.
What EVA charges, and that's a good pricing strategy.
Yeah.
Because that's a fee, you got to account for it. There's no sense in you eating it. So yeah, that's a good pricing strategy. They're going to ask you for a FOIA exemption, and that means do you have something proprietary that you don't want shared? And you can ask for that to be redacted.
The state, Virginia has incredibly liberal FOIA rules. So any conversation you have with a state employee is FOIA-able. And so if there's something that you are going to exchange on email and you want it exempted, that is a very important thing. Very, very, I mean, it's super easy to FOIA anything.
And that's
Unless
emails,
the
text
government
messages.
says they don't want it.
What does these acronyms
Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
Okay.
So everything in the state, unless they're considered governor's personal or governor's private working documents, there's a bunch of things that go in that. But the point is that you have a conversation with SBSD.
That's not completely filled out.
And you talk about your business, and it turns out it's something that you think is proprietary. If someone FOIAs that, they're gonna get your idea.
So we wanna check.
Yeah, you'll have to, you will want to, if there's something proprietary, you're gonna want some kind of exemption.
Okay.
Some of
But
the
they're
most-
gonna also wanna know why you don't want to be
Right.
FOIA.
Right.
So,
Oh, I just learned what it meant, so I don't. But I like to think ahead of time, so like I wouldn't have an excuse now. So should I just put the opposite? Like, especially for the ones who are just starting out.
Most of my clients who, like janitorial, consulting, things like that, put no.
Okay.
Most of them
Okay.
do. So, you know, if you've got some kind of high technology or something like that that you're gonna try to
No,
sell
we're
in the
just tutoring
States,
kids.
so, you know, more than likely it's gonna be no, but
Okay.
again, you know, high technology, you know, when one of your kids comes up and you're
Yeah.
teaching your kid, that kid to, you know, manufacture something high tech, they're gonna wanna do the yes to the FOIA if they've got something high tech or something like that.
But
So-
there may be some specific know-how or technique that would differentiate your business in the way that you deliver tutoring. You found that this particular methodology
Mhm.
that you developed, now that's intellectual property.
Could be, yes,
And
very
so it
well.
doesn't necessarily have to be a patentable widget, you know, it's anything that you would put under copyright or something like that.
And that brings, you know, that makes me wonder, what about patentable objects? What about if you do have a patent on something?
well, if you're patented, you're covered.
So
Yeah.
you're covered, so it wouldn't
Yeah.
matter. Okay.
Because we do like STEAM as well, which will fall under technology, where the kids can learn coding and all of that good
Mhm.
stuff. And there was another acronym way back, it was EVA.
Electronic Virginia, EVA.
Okay.
But remember, this is communication between you and the state.
Right.
So if you're holding on to something like you got a special curriculum that you're not passing to the state for any reason, they can't FOIA
Okay.
your
Exactly.
proprietary. But if you were to say, oh, here's my curriculum,
Right.
and you just send it to them and it's proprietary, well, if someone FOIAs it, then they can pull that, they get all of that. and they
Gotcha.
get that
Or a
information.
strategy and a business plan or something like that.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
Oh, I have it. Thank you.
Okay. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get a message that pops up that says you're almost there. Go back and complete your application. 9 times out of 10. So just click OK on that message and scroll back through and look for the red. It's gonna highlight, it's gonna give you something in red that you've missed, or it didn't like the answer to, or you didn't verify your address. Then, well, once you get there, there's little buttons down there at the bottom. I didn't take a picture of that, and it says previous, next, and move forward. So when you get there, you click the next, it's gonna bring you to the documentation page. I didn't take pictures of this. This is the only one, but you're gonna see the list of documents they require with a little upload arrow. You click on the arrow, it carries you right back to your computer to the folder where you need to upload your documents. You choose and upload each document where they ask you. You're missing something, put that statement in there. It's going to ask you, it's gonna ask you to sign this affidavit and debarment form. It's gonna ask for details. It's going to say, you know, something along the lines, you attest that everything you put in this application is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge. You're gonna sign that. You're gonna date it. And then you can click submit down there at the bottom. And then it comes up and it gives you a print screen to where you can print that affidavit and your application. Once you submit, and that's for a lot of people, you want to watch from emails for the SBSD. You want to watch for them. They'll request information, and a lot of times they're going to send you an email and say, hey, can you go back and log in and check? There's a message in there for you. You need to log back into this application portal and look for that message. If they're asking for clarification, if they're asking for your operating agreement, whatever they're asking for, supply that to them. They give you a limited window. Give you about 3 to 5 days to respond to that. So make sure you're checking.
Check
This
your
applica-
spam folders too, because
Yes.
a lot of his stuff goes to spam.
Yes, yes. Put it on your calendar, check weekly, takes 90 days. 60 working days, 90 days. Don't let that stop you. If you see something that's set aside for a SWAM certified vendor, and you wanna bid on it, bid on it. And say, my SWAM's pending. And when you get that award, you pick up the phone and you call Lynne and say, I just want a SWAM certified vendor award, and I don't have my SWAM certification yet, and I'm panicking. I'm gonna say, take a deep breath, I'll call you right back, and I'm gonna pick up the phone, call the SBSD, and I'm gonna say, they just want a SWAM certified set aside. I need you to push their application through. And then hopefully, within the next 24 hours, you're gonna get your SWAM certification. So do not hesitate. Put that application in and start bidding. And I'm going into another soapbox here. If you need help doing your proposals, writing your proposal, talk to me. We can help you format your responses. We can help you go over that opportunity line by line. Okay, so congratulations, you're certified. Now what? There's a link here that takes you to the SBSD page that gives you some tips and tricks on what you need to do. I'm not going to read all these. The SWAM certification roadmap is on the SBSD page. Next step, let's talk about EVA. Be registered in EVA. It doesn't cost you anything to register in EVA. Get registered in EVA so you can start seeing those opportunities. Once you fill out your profile in EVA, they will start sending your opportunities to you on a daily basis in your email. Look and see. Do your research. Use it for your research, even if you don't feel like you're ready. Look at the opportunities. See what's coming out there.
Read your contracts carefully. Some of them are very, very specific, and it can cost you. Just speaking from experience.
It does. I had a janitorial customer come to me and she won a VDOT contract, and she bid on it being weekly. I didn't see the opportunity. She didn't come to me. She didn't ask me for any help. By the time she came to me, she had won the award, and she said, Lynne, this is daily. And I said, well, what does the opportunity say? And it was very ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to read in the opportunity. And in the opportunity, it was trash must be emptied daily. And that was the only reference in there that said daily. So thankfully, she was able to get out of it. But that janitorial charge, what she bid on, was not going to cover daily cleanings, especially where it was at. She already had one job up there once a week, so that's what she bid on. So I could go right next door, do this cleaning for this amount, and then they came back and said daily. And again, there are so many free resources out here. When you become a client of the Apex, I tell you, don't pay for anything until you run it by me, you run it by your SBSD council or your Small Business Development Center council. We're free resources for you. We do all this for you. You see an opportunity, send it to us. We're going to go through it line by line with you to make sure you understand every line of it. When it's time to do your response, we're going to sit down with you. We're going to format you. We're going to help you format the first couple of responses. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. It's in that opportunity exactly how they want it.
And you have to look at also like the contract terms on the sample contract that they provide you, because they could put things in there that could cause you additional costs that you didn't expect.
Exactly.
Like insurance requirements that are, might be more than what you normally carry, or bonding each your employees, or.
We teach you to do a bid or no bid sheet, and it's your checklist. There's no template because every business is different. You're not going to be worried about insurance, requirements where you might, insurance requirements. Do you have the crew on staff? So, there's a checklist you can create to go down the list. Yes, sir.
We were having a conversation before things started this morning, and I think taking a sample contract, taking the bid requirements and things like that, and running it through an AI engine and get it to point out the key terms, conditions, requirements, and things like that could be
Beneficial,
Very beneficial, you know, especially if you're trying to run your business and grow your business.
Especially if you're new. If you're new to the
Yeah.
whole contract, in the state government contracting field, you know, use the tools you have on hand. Yes, ma'am?
Is there a class that actually covers how to even read and understand what the bids and proposals are? I'm getting a lot of stuff from, I guess, Ava contractors, I guess.
I do proposal writing, or Virginia Apex does a proposal writing class that you can take. Most of theirs are geared toward federal. I do state. I'll do a state proposal writing class. I'm working on a training schedule now to where, you know, I'll put something together, but we take one proposal. I just pull one out of EVO and pull it out and we dissect it. We sit down and dissect it, we go through it, we show you what to look for and how to understand it. But again, I'm available. I'm available virtually. I'm in person in Chesterfield once a week. I've got a team member up at Chesterfield Economic Developments once a week. I'm in Sandston once a week. I'm in Farmville once a month. For in-person appointments, I'm looking for someplace here in Petersburg, and I'm going to set something up where I'll be here in Petersburg once a month. We can do virtual. We'll sit down and go over it. I mean, we'll go over it line by line until you're fully understanding what they're requiring of you. Again, use your resources.
So talking about the contract that you signed with the state so I have my own contract that my client signed with me. Which one would prevail? Like theirs?
The state.
Yeah.
The state.
And that's what I mean by reading
Stay.
carefully, because it literally says in fine print, any other contract basically means nothing but ours.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I wouldn't even send them my contract. It
No.
would make a difference.
No, you would sign their.
You're giving up, and that's why I'm saying, like, just read every letter.
Yeah.
Because we
Read every
had
line.
a few times where, I mean, I'm new and I'm learning and I missed something big.
The
And
TNCs are very important. The terms and conditions,
Yes.
because you have your requirements or how you solicitate to be after work, but it's all that stuff it's all the legal terms and the terms and conditions that you really want to pay attention to.
So, like, you just put it in the AI, you just have
You
your
can
lawyer,
put in AI.
or send it to your lawyer and say, hey, this is.
Yes,
yeah.
I would do both.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what you're capable of too.
Mhm.
So that might be determined in those terms and conditions, but your lawyer wouldn't know what your,
Yeah.
you know, it may be an availability thing, like they were saying on a weekly versus monthly. So,
How long are the contracts typically? Like 20 pages or like two?
Oh,
It
I've seen them
depends.
from 7 to 82.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do they give you like, do they say you have this amount of time to say yes or no, or is it
Yes.
a situation?
Usually.
Okay.
Usually
So
they're
give you
time
to go
sensitive.
through all of that.
Yeah, it's very time sensitive. Once you get into that.
Oh my gosh.
The whole proposal thing,
Can explain.
is,
And with all the other stuff, right?
it's incredible. I mean, it's incredible. We can talk, I can be here the rest of the day. We can go over
Right.
proposals. We can go over, you know, the key thing is right now, get your SWAMMED certification. Get registered in EVO. Start getting those opportunities. Start researching what's available. When you're ready to start bidding, let's talk. So real quick, in order to sit down with me and have a one-on-one, you need to be registered in our system. We do not sell your information. We only share your information with contracting buyers that might be interested in what you're selling, okay? So if we have a buyer reach out to us and say, I need somebody to give me some tutoring, you know, I can say, well, I know of somebody that can do that, and I'll send them your information. There are requirements to be registered in our system. You do need a professional email and a professional website. You need to have a online presence. You're going to have that to do business successfully. You've got to have that online presence. And there's workarounds. So, you know, if you get kicked back, you have my business card, call me. Lynn, they just kicked me back, and I can twist some fingers and say, hey, you know, accept this person. You can register for the counseling there. We're your one-stop shop for government contracting, state, federal, or local. We will help you get through it. Our services are, for the most part, free. We do offer a bid match service. You should have gotten a flyer. You should have one of my flyers. It lists our services here. We do have a bid match service. So when you're ready to move into the federal contracting field, We can fill out your profile, submit it to our search engine, and you will get state, local, and federal opportunities emailed to you on a daily basis. This does say there is a charge, but your first year is free, and it will continue to be free if your business is located in one of our distressed areas. This is a huge value. If you don't do anything but sign up for the bid match service, you know, this is a great value. In order to keep that, you do have to counsel with us once a quarter.
How do you know if you're in a distressed area?
We'll let you know. We'll let you know. Our federal standards.
You're in Petersburg.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well, a couple things, especially when you get into the contracting process, please ensure you have professional liability insurance and for errors and omissions, okay? Because if you do not have it and something goes wrong and you're now liable, that can make or break your business, okay? So, professional liability, errors and omissions for sure, okay? And if you have employees, you wanna make sure that your organization is covered, okay? And depending on the size of the contract, you may have to go back and increase your limits, okay? Many of the contracts will require certain levels of insurance, so that's why it's so important to take your time, read, and like I said, if you have your business attorney or you use some type of AI tool or something like that, it can point those things out for you. And the one thing I like about the AI tools, if you don't understand something, you can immediately say, please explain this to me. And it will. And it will give you references and things like that. But, you know, this is, you know, when I think about this, I think about, you know, it's kind of like going from getting called up from farm league, right?
Yeah.
You're in business and now you're in the major leagues. You're dealing with very, very large entities who have a lot of money, but that also means they have a lot of power, okay? And it can really be a wonderful thing, but
It can destroy you too.
you've got to make sure you got your I's dotted and your T's crossed and you know exactly what you are agreeing to do. There's Latin, caveat emptor, buyer beware, right? Well, the same thing on the contractor beware, right? You know, you've got to make sure you really know what's happening before you step into those waters, because it can be a wonderful wellspring of revenue. Like Lynn said, there's so much money out there. You know, just a very, very small sliver of the pie can you know, be a very, very nice business for everybody in this room. And the wonderful thing is that we want to see everybody succeed because, right, the rising tide, right, raises all ships, right? And it makes the chamber better, it helps Petersburg be better, and so we want to see all of you succeed. And I want to give my closing comments, and I'm going to turn it back to you so you can give yours. But there's been a lot covered today, a lot of good ideas that are swirling around. I've tried to give you all my card, okay? If there's follow-on topics that you want to, you know, keep the process going, please let me know. And I'll get with Lynn and Don and we'll determine, hey, is that a roundtable topic, or do we need to be back in a venue like this and just go at it one more time, okay?
Well, let me ask this, how many of you guys have never been to a business roundtable that the chamber's done? Quite a few.
So we got new members coming next visit, right?
That's what I want to throw out there, because that's a really big deal. We sit around and talk about topics like this around the business roundtable all the time. Bert's Professor Bert, okay? He puts his hat on, but we do this every first and third Thursday of each month at South Park Carpet. And you just have business owners like this, and we're pinging around the table ideas and how to make our businesses better. That's really what the business roundtable is all about.
And if you get to the point where you need a business attorney and you don't have a business attorney, I have contacts. I don't get any compensation. I don't have a dog in that race.
He just knows a guy.
Right, I just got a guy. But we want to make sure that you're able to tap into the right resources so it's, you know, so that you're protected. Okay? So anyway,
What time is the meeting on the?
8 a.m.
8 to 9.
And it's on the chamber website, and you can actually go there and register, I believe.
You can't.
Yeah.
8 to 9 o'clock, first and third Thursday.
So, with this being said, how many of you in this room are gonna go out this afternoon, or in the next week or so, and get your SWAM certification.
Cool.
Awesome. That's all I can ask. Get that SWAM certification. Get registered with us. Again, we're a free resource. There's just so many free resources. Don't pay for anything until you run it by somebody. Ask Bert, ask John, ask Ray, ask, is there somebody that can help me do this? Because there's too many free resources out there.
And Whitney puts it out in our newsletter every week, you know, Randy's, you know, free seminars and things like that, so.
Yeah, they're on the calendar as well as we get them on the programs, classes, we share it on our website, so please make sure you do the calendar every once in a while.
And on your member information center, it tells you, hey, this is the next event coming up, or you can look forward. So make sure you're using the calendar on the member information center, because you may be missing out. I mean, look at how many, should be filling up a room this size 5 times full. Because people should be coming and doing these things. And we videoed it, it'll be on our YouTube, and we'll share out the YouTube. But, again, you could have questions at home looking at the video and go, dang. And then try to get in touch with Lynn. Lynn's out on appointment, and then you're tied up, and so, you know,
And the one thing I didn't say is every client that walks through my door, I ask them, do you belong to a chamber? You know, that is one thing you do pay for, is your chamber membership. And regardless of where you're at, I've seen John do wonders with this chamber. I mean, this chamber is just, it's amazing. It's amazing. You're not in this alone. There's a business sitting right beside you, more than likely, that's been there and done that, and can provide the insight, and is more than willing to provide the insight. John, Ray, they do a wonderful job. And I want you to know that I do push for people to join the chamber. I do push for people to join the chamber for the networking, for the experience. Thank you for having me. Thank you for bringing me in, because this has been, you know, amazing. I love seeing the lights come on and the people step up to the.
And just to kind of give, if you haven't registered or Petersburg specifically, the school, they can, like VSUs, they can only get work done specifically with micro businesses, just to let you know. So, for example, if they want to go buy a tent, like a pop-up tent, they can't go on Walmart.
They can't go to Walmart.
They
Amazon,
can't buy a pop-up tent. They literally have to find somebody who can source it that is a micro business. So just keep that in mind. Like, Petersburg is very like small business friendly. Like, it really is. So if you're in Petersburg, I know like for a long time it was very like women owned was the focus, but right now it's micro. It's small. It's
And I know the casino coming in has got like a 52% goal for small businesses. So, you know, when they bring in when they bring in the businesses like that, they're small business goal oriented. It's just huge.
But be aware, there is a application fee to be able to qualify for the casino, and it is a hefty fee. So
Really? I
yes,
did not know that.
it's like $5,000.
Really?
Non-refundable.
And it's just to apply.
and that's just to apply.
It's just to apply.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you actually get it.
And see, that's not, yeah.
So
Well,
it
that's
puts a
another
lot of
discussion.
businesses out of
That's
pocket.
that's another
Well, I have a
discussion.
feeling they're gonna see the consequences of that.
To be a vendor?
To be a vendor, to be considered for a
Consider,
vendor,
not even selected.
you
Because
have.
like when at the thing they had at the library, you just signed up for it. And then,
That was just to get information.
yeah.
That was not your application to be a contractor or a vendor. So what we've learned is that there is a $5,000 application fee that is non-refundable,
Probably.
and
We get
whether you get the contract or not.
we get buyers all the time.
That's crazy.
I agree.
That should be 15%.